Hi everyone, it's Lynn. Sorry this is taking me a while to get back to the color theory stuff that we're doing, but honestly, this takes longer to prep and I have been swamped. But we're going to talk about yellow because we love yellow and yellow is awesome. I was just reading in this book, which I've referred to a few times, that yellow is a pretty controversial color. I think everyone is, though. It just pick the where and when in history, and you're going to find that any color I think has a sordid background. But apparently Oscar Wilde was arrested because he had a yellow book under his arm, and it was quite scandalous. So because what decent man would be seen openly walking the streets with a yellow book? And apparently the yellow book had used in literature and printmaking to have cheap yellow black books could be bought cheaply at every railway station as early as 1846, and the American author Edgar Allan Poe was scornfully writing of an internal insignificance of a yellowback pamphleteering. For others, the sunny colors were symbols of modern and aesthetic and decadent movements. So yellow is like decadent. But they're talking about the Middle Ages. They talk about China. Really interesting how yellow has got this background. I actually love the color yellow without any of the sword background. So what I want to do is let's get in and look at what we've got and some fabric that I pulled to look at it. I think some's going to be successful and I think some's not. And I think that we will find out which ones are not as successful. But here's yellow. This is what we colored out. This is week 16. It's week whatever we're on. Let's be honest. That's how I do things. But that's the yellow. So I thought that one worked pretty closely. This one is a little bit duller or not as bright. But yellow is hard to find. I mean, you don't see a lot of yellow, but look how bright that is on the scale. So let's just start comparing our fabrics towards this yellow and see what we get. I don't remember if this was called lemon. It may have been called lemon when I bought it. I've been buying some solid fabrics lately. What? Can you believe that? I've been buying solid fabrics lately? That's crazy. Anyway. So, but this is a cute, look how this cute little, it's got just a little hint of yellow in it, but I think that, that's definitely lends itself to yellow. It's going to work. But it's got blue and green and white, and, that's definitely going to have some yellow undertones to it. And I think that when you do that with like gray and maybe a little purple, definitely some green in here, yellow's just going to provide that brightness to it. Definitely, this looks good with that. Ooh, like take those away. That's got a nice look to it. Yeah. But are you ever going to make something with that much yellow in it? I don't know. I forgot to put a quilt behind me that had yellow in it. Sorry. I did want to pull out, like these I think look good. Of course, it's always going to. I don't think that you use yellow with as many, as much. Like I think that yellow is definitely kind of taken in smaller bites unless you're really focusing on it. These are definitely more subdued colors. These are reproduction fabric colors. Ooh, look at that. Now I love this with it. Ooh. Ooh, that kind of glows. Yeah. Wow. This just like, to me, this is just now starting to glow as I'm putting these fabrics out on here. Wow. It's almost like it's too much. Like yellow is pretty powerful. It's a powerful color, and I think it can overwhelm. The one quilt that I did do with a yellow background, which I'm sorry I didn't hang up, it has, it is a much more, well, it's the goldenrod. It's the one I hung up that we did with goldenrod. Yeah, that's the one. So I don't have one with the yellow background. And I don't think there's yellow in this quilt at all. No. Wow. Just totally, don't you just see? Now there is some yellow in here. You did find yellow in the 1800s. They would call it chromium yellow, which this is a little bit lighter than what that is. But it's pretty. Definitely pretty. Now, I will say one of my favorite color combinations is red, yellow, and green. Definitely one of my favorite color combinations, especially for a quilt. I just think that's a way cool color combination. Then you got burgundy in here. And then you got some chromium orange. Some rusty browns, and then some more. Yeah. Aren't those neat? So, okay, so it goes with this, but man, you're going to have to tone this down in that you're not going to use as much of it. Right? I think when I laid this all out on this, it made the yellow more yellow. Like it just made it glow. And the reason is the value of this is going to be completely different than, let me put those back together. I'm kind of liking that I found this little charm pack with all these reproduction fabrics in it, because it's a way for us to look at those. And I don't have a lot of reproduction. Now, okay, so classic, you know, yellow's going to look good with yellow and green. There's some more yellow. Let's fold this, because I do think it's really super powerful, right? Definitely looks good with that. Yellow. I don't have, you would think I would have a lot more yellow in my stash than I do. I think anytime you're using yellow, orange, red, like look at that yellow. That's kind of more like orange, but it's a chromium yellow kind of thing. This to me is more closer to the color that we colored out these. That's a little darker, maybe more orangey. But it's definitely, it's always going to look good with the warm side of the color wheel. It's always going to look good with the reds and that kind of stuff. Let's see. I'm going to pull in blue, like some classic. Yellow's going to look good with any kind of the bright, like blue and yellow. To me, that's classic. Kind of like that. Does it look good like that? I don't, okay. Doesn't work for me at all. And I think that, I don't know, I don't know that I'd even like a little bit of it with it. That just does not work for me at all. So that kind of dusty blue didn't help. Now here's some Tula pink. And you know I'm a Tula fan. And that looks classically great with it. That's not going to have any. And then here's some more. I think this is from her Tiny Beast line. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, it's always going to look good. And I think you'll find that any of Tula's, I don't want to say any, a lot of Tula stuff's going to look good with it. This is her new Parisville Deja Vu line. And there's no yellow in this at all. But yellow, because of the intensity of that color, it's going to look fine with that. Even though there's not yellow in the print at all. And here's another one of the fabrics in it. Oh, I want to show you her face. So, yeah. So, even though there's no yellow in this print at all, it's definitely going to go with it. It's got that intensity of color that Tula tends to use in her colors of her fabric. But, yeah, here's the I guess, it's Parisville. So, I think that's Marie Antoinette. That's a play on Marie Antoinette and kind of the big garb that they had in All right, here's one of the ones that we'd seen earlier, and this is a Route 66 print that I found that I liked a lot. I have some of my family who lives on right next to Route 66 in Illinois, so I sent something to them, and I use this as part of it. But this is a little bright for this. Like I think if it were more this color of orange, I'd be happier, or yellow. Like more that yellow I would be happier with. This is a little bright for this. And remember I said, I'm not sure that this is going to go with everything. I think that yellow is a harder color to work with, which is probably why there's not a ton of it printed, because it doesn't sell like you would think. This would work in small amounts, because you do definitely have some of the yellows in some of these, although they're duller. So this is really bright. Like this is super bright next to this. So it would work, but man, you would have to be judicious on how you used it. Definitely. Now this is more pastel kind of look to it. It's just so powerful. Yellow is a powerful color. It really is. And it's because it reflects so much light that it grabs your attention and your eye is drawn to it. So little bits of it will just be they will overwhelm other fabrics. You know what I mean? Like if this were, I keep making this smaller. If this were just a little bit, maybe it wouldn't bug you as much, right? But just it in of itself, I think you're going to find yellow is a tougher one to use. Now, I like this with it. This kind of helps tone it down, but it's because that green is also grabbing a lot of light. So it's reflecting a lot of light. That works. This will be fine together. Love it. This is, I think you've seen this one before too, but this is a seeds packet. It's going to be okay with it. This is still really bright, but you could do it. You could get, again, a little bit of this is going to go a long way. A little bit's going to go a long way. Yeah, it still works for me. See, it looks just so bright. It's not going to matter what black and whites and stuff. Now, it will look beautiful with black and whites. It really will look beautiful with black and whites. See, this isn't strong enough to hang out with it. You could do it, but you're really going to have to balance more stuff. They're having a harder time talking to each other. You know how I always say you have to have the quilts them talk to each other? I like the purple and yellow, but purple and yellow are contrast colors, so they're always going to look good together. This one would work, but you've got two really bright colors going on. Now that's cheery. That is really cheery. That would work. Again. Now, if I'm going to tone this down. Okay, yes. We're getting into, but it's because we're adding more things to create the conversation. Do you see what I mean? Like, I really believe that you are creating a conversation when you're pulling in these things to get this stuff to talk to each other, right? Like, that works with this because this actually helps talk to here. Do you see how I'm building this? Like, okay. If this is a fabric that I have, okay, I need yellow because yellow's going to talk to this. Well, the green talks to this. So if I take this away, that conversation's really, it's a stark contrast, right? Everything's got an edge. You can see exactly where this ends and this begins, right? But when I start adding in these other fabrics, what I'm doing is I'm adding more to the conversation. Now the yellow doesn't stand out as much. It's still there. There's no question it's there. But because you're adding in more colors to the conversation, it doesn't overpower. And I think with this color of yellow, not so much with goldenrod, but with this color of yellow, you're going to almost need that to have more fabrics in the conversation. I kind of like this, though. That looks good with that gray. That would be good. That's not a bad color thing right there. I may have to do something with that. You know, I say that every time we do these. Okay, now these are really high contrast colors, okay? Everything's a high contrast. Now, I'm going to bring in this next fabric, and it's going to change it. Did it change it? Did it change the way you perceived that yellow? Take it away. Stark, modern, very thing. I'm going to pull in just this tiny little print. I've changed the conversation from stark and modern because of this print. Interesting. And I think if I brought back this, because of those blues and green, like these blues and these, right? You could do that all together. It would work great. But that one fabric changed the conversation because this was hugely stark. Gray, yeah. Okay, this is that book that I liked. This would totally work with it. It brightens up this fabric. Fabric by itself totally brightens up that fabric. Just pulls out, because the yellow becomes more important, right? Just look at the other side as well. Da-da-da. Bum, bum, bum. Yep, totally works. Totally works. But it brightens up that fabric. That would work really well. I think because there's a lot of colors going on in here. I love that. Okay, this one, I'm not sure it'll work, but we're going to look at it. You know what? That works for me. That works for me a lot. And I think it's because it totally brightens up this. When you just have this by itself, you know, I think it's going to be the same thing that we saw earlier. But when I put this to it, it brightens that up. Like it makes some of this stuff glow for me. Wow. That's really neat. Okay, this is Cafe, of course. This is a William Morris classic. Too strong. No, to me, no. Like, I don't see that. We would have to bring more fabric in here to have a conversation. And maybe that could be done. Maybe that's, you know, when we start bringing in these stones colors and more, you know, muted tans, which this is going to go with, right? And maybe this. But then we're going, just a little bit of yellow, not as much. I mean, these all go with yellow. They definitely go with yellow, but you're going to have more in the conversation. That's just a really stark contrast for me. For me, it's a little, it would not be my first choice, right? I don't hate that. I really don't. But blue and yellow go together. Blue and yellow go together. Maybe it's because I watch too much. No. No. I mean, and I was thinking maybe because it had some of this little, you know, kind of orange sherbet-y kind of look to it and had the red, but I just think that's too much for me. Those work. I mean, if you were doing solids, it's not bad. Okay, here's that Rio de Janeiro and the map stuff that I bought. That works. That will totally work. I wouldn't use a ton of this, but it works with this. If I were choosing some. Yeah, see, like here is when you start getting into the conversation of, okay, these can all go together. And this is going to be just a little bright spot or like one square in the block or whatever that would have your eye move about the quilt. But I think these could work, yeah. Maybe not my first choice of yellow, but it could work. And I think those are challenging. So like I'm showing you not maybe what exactly is going to go, but maybe more challenging ways. Now these last few ones I think are going to be like home run, no big deal. Home run, no big deal. Like seriously, that's going to always look good together. Because these are more subdued fabric. They have gray and black in them that's kind of muting them. This one doesn't. These are more pure tones of the fabric, so you're going to see much more contrast. And I think that's just cheery and lovely. Of course that's going to work. Of course those bikes are going to go on a beautiful sunny day drive and be very happy. Are our teapots going to be happy? I think they are. And I think it's because the intensity of some of these colors and contrasts that they're already using there. I think if you add yellow in, that's going to be fine. And then the last one that I would use, I definitely would use this one with yellow, is Cave. Cave. I love, well, I'm a Cave fan. I'm a Cave, William Morris, Tulip Pink, Cotton Steel, Ruby Red Society. I like fabric. It's a problem. So what fun. Like yellow, I think, okay, here's what I think. Yellow is a tough color to work with. It's not impossible, but I think you're going to find yellow is going to work. This bright of a yellow, like we did the goldenrod went with tons of stuff, almost everything. But this bright of a yellow, because it draws your eye, because it soaks up more light than other colors do, you're going to either find that you're going to use it judiciously and be very specific on how you're using it, or you're going to use it with much brighter colors like we see in the, the Caves and the Tula and the more modern quilt designers. I think Allison Glass has stuff that would look great with it. And so yellow is definitely something you would use and definitely fun to play with. But I think that you're just going to bring more fabrics and colors into the conversation. And that's where you find yellow successful. If you use this by itself as a background color, it's just going to be a really bright quilt. It's going to be a really bright quilt. It will be really bright. Like, there's no other way. Love it. I love using yellow. And now I'm like talking myself into how can I do that and be successful, because now I think I want to do it. And I did buy a yard of this fabric for this specific, that's one of the reasons it took a while, because I had to get the yard to come in, because I bought it online. So anyway, yellow. Love lemons. Love yellow. I think you're going to use it. Monochromatic's going to be super successful. With bright, modern fabric designers, super successful. I think you're going to use it judiciously if you're into reproduction. And you're probably going to use more the chromium yellow than this yellow. This yellow is a little bit different and I think brighter. It reminds you of emojis, like smiley faces. All right. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and join us in the conversations. If you haven't caught up with Quiltlet 101, I think we're getting ready to start block 5 or 6. Join us, because we've got some really good blocks, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks.